What is muscle tuning? This is a great question. For those people who've been involved in workouts at the gym, training sessions, chiropractic visits, or physiotherapy exercises, you would assume you were tuning your muscles. However, our guest for episode 3 today shows us how working our muscles is very different from tuning our muscles. Denise Cambiotti and I have been members of the Canadian Association of BioEnergetic Wellness, formerly known as CANASC, or the Canadian Association of Specialized Kinesiology, for several decades. In fact, CanBeWell's history goes back 29 years, while the profession we love dearly goes back into the 1960s and science even before that. With our tools rooted in traditional Chinese medicine concepts, there are thousands of years of experience and expertise behind what we offer to clients and students. Today, Denise will be exploring with us the difference between working a muscle and tuning it, rather than testing, and we're monitoring for the integrity. These words seem very similar, but the knowledge we gain in biofeedback from the body is very different. Denise has been working in the bioenergetic wellness field for over 3 decades. She's trained extensively with mentors from all over the world, and she first began with Touch for Health training, is an instructor for this world phenomenon. She is also an instructor for a program known as SIPS, which is Stress Indicator Point System. And the techniques in this program provide the facilitator with skills to find combinations of stressors within the system and then bring them back into harmony. Denise is also the owner and mastermind behind a very special program called Muscle Tuners International. With specialty protocols, this program can engage muscles into harmony before athletes and sports enthusiasts get into their programs. It can also be used at the end to recover from programs and training sessions. As promised with Season 2, we're taking a deeper dive into the power of bioenergetic wellness tools and how these tools transform lives and well-being. Thank you for coming along for this journey and the discovery. This is Season 2, Episode 3, Muscle Tuners International with Denise Cambiotti. Denise, welcome to the show.
Hi, Michelle. I'm so happy to be here with you.
We're at opposite ends of this country. You're on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast, and I'm curious, what kind of tea is your favorite at the other end?
Well, autumn just settled in, so here on the wet coast, it gets damp, and I like to help build up my fire, and one of the herbs that you can do that with is ginger. So I'm having my ginger tea right now, just simply taking ginger root, slicing it really thinly, and steeping it. It makes my adrenals balanced. It warms me up. So what are you having?
That's beautiful. I have To Be Honest, which is a tea blend which has a combination that includes lemongrass, lemon balm, which I do have still growing on the shelf, some rose petals and chamomile as some of the ingredients. And some of these I can now grow in my garden. Some I still have to get to make my blends, but I'm always happy to do that. And I'm just going to show you my mug. This mug is made by Tanya Levy, and it says gratitude. It says thank you all over it, but it's one of her pieces of art, which is photographs run through filters. And it's all blues, purples. Anyway, it was my smile
Gorgeous.
This morning.
So you're imprinting all that energy on your tea as you drink it. You get a double whammy.
I've got, that's a quadruple. Yep. But between the two of us, we've got a good blend to get us going. But also it sets the stage for really too how you and I both really live, which is with intention, and how we set up how our days are going to go and the way we move forward. We both use that. So Denise, let's get started about Muscle Tuners International, because I really want to share with the listeners what you have been doing with this program and what you felt was kind of missing from the physical training that athletes and sports people were using.
Oh man, you just opened the door to, my brain goes in 6 different directions. So I need to get wrangled. You just go ahead and do that.
Okay. So tell me, what
First of
had you
all,
started? Yeah.
yeah, first of all, I had really sore neck. And I thought, this neck pain isn't going away. It didn't matter how many pain relievers I took. And in fact, one day I woke up and realized maybe I shouldn't be taking pain relievers 2 or 3 times a day for about a year now. This is before I knew anything about health. This is when I just would get up at 5 in the morning, go to work, come home at 6 at night, and rinse and repeat day in and day out. So I decided I was going to go see the chiropractor in my northern Canadian town. And his assistant did this weird thing before I got to see the doctor. I've never seen a chiropractor before. And what drove me there was pain. And she's pushing on my outstretched arm. And sometimes one arm would lock and sometimes another arm would unlock. And I would feel like weak and like come on, you can do better. And she did this from head to foot. And she was taking notes. And then I went to see the chiropractor and he looked at the notes and then he said, so what's going on with you? And I went, well, I got a sore neck. And well, by the way, I take painkillers, because of my headache, which hasn't gone away for about a year. And he says, anything else? And I says, well, I have this issue that a while ago I had recurring bladder infections. But those are okay now because I took lots of antibiotics and about 6 or 7 courses of massive course pills. And they're all gone now, I think, sort of. And, well, how's your digestion? I'm going, well, yeah, my mother was always after me that when I was a kid. I don't poop every day. And so, but that's just natural. It's just normal to me, right? And he's going, uh-huh. He says, all of this is related. And I thought he was an absolute nut job because I got a headache and I get recurring bladder infections and they're all connected. And I'm thinking, come on. And so he did chiropractic on me, very minimal, hardly nothing. And then he retested all these muscle things that his assistant had me do. And every muscle was push on it. He could swing off it like a monkey off a branch. I wasn't going anywhere. I was instantly feeling empowered. And I thought to myself, this is what I want to do when I grow up. I was 28 at the time. So I finally had the answer that everybody when I was a kid used to ask me. And I'm going, I don't know. And this is what I wanted to do. And when I moved from Northern Alberta, I found out that there were these programs called Touch for Health. And as soon as I heard about it, I went, you don't have to be a doctor to learn a muscle test. And I was sold. And I went down the rabbit hole and deep, man. I'm just, I can't imagine living a day without doing some form of muscle testing for others, for my family, my clients, myself. Just, that was my start. And I went on to study to be a Touch for Health instructor. After I had a miracle happen, literally a miracle happen for a client. I wasn't even taking money at the time. It was just somebody came and said, yeah. And a miracle happened for her. And it took me forever to find level 2. And then level 3 and 4 took a long time to, progress through. And then somebody says, well, you seem to have, kind of a knack for this. And we want to bring this guy in. I'm going, oh, I don't know. But I got dragged to one workshop after another. And I was gone. I just loved it so much. So part of the reason I do what I do now is to make it easier for people to learn really solid basics that they can use, get home run results, and learn it conveniently online. And that's partly why I created Muscle Tuners. And I'll let you get a word in edgewise, but there were a couple other magical things that happened to help us create our program.
That's beautiful. And you and I have crossed paths many different ways. Sometimes it's just colleagues getting together. We've been at conventions together. We've been in workshops. It's really been amazing just as we've kind of flowed in and out of each other's lives, as each of us has been so enthralled with how can we get more information about these tools. And again, how can we take from what we've learned about helping ourselves to be able to help all those around us who are still trying to struggle through, or like you said, accept what is because it's always been normal and just going with it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if we were to dive into the next piece, what would you say is unique then about your programs besides what you've already said? Because I know there's more.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the exciting part. It is, let me roll myself in again. The exciting part of one of the things that many people do in our world is they're not just helping people increase their strength and their physical function. They're helping people relieve emotional stress that they didn't even realize was trapped in their bodies. And some people have a gift to do that with some of the trainings. It's not counseling, it's not talk therapy, it's not psychotherapy, but it is nice to have a bit of a gift to make that really smooth and easy and gentle for the client. Well, all of it's usually easy, smooth, and gentle if you have the knack to do it. And other people avoid working with emotions. And what we found out with muscle tuners is, because of my experience with finding if there's emotional stuff, baggage trapped on some muscles, which is why sometimes people don't get better or stay better. And when you find an emotion, just a word, and bring it to their awareness, they can go, oh, well, what am I carrying that baggage around for? And so if you can release it, they get more durable results. And it can be stunning and it can be fast. So we accidentally came across a way to do that. And what's really special about our approach is it doesn't only work on muscles. It's the same technique that works on tendons and ligaments and fascia, how the nervous system or the lymphatic system is doing communicating to a muscle, and how that muscle is communicating to those systems. So when you can clear stress on all those different parts of your being at an emotional level, it's pretty darn impressive. I've got to say, it was a total accidental discovery. And it was because of, listening to Dr. George Goodhart, who was the original applied kinesiology chiropractor, who had a few accidents in his clinic where he went, gee, I wonder why that worked. People going, gee, doc, why didn't you do that sooner? And he'd say, you got to build up to these things. And then they'd leave and he'd go, what was that about? So he started correlating the reflexes he was accidentally discovering with other osteopathic work, with acupuncture theory. He started blending all that together. And I heard him speak at a conference, and I think you were there at that conference. I think it was back in 2003. Yeah. And he inspired me, and he said, people think we studied this and it's very scientific. And he says, it wasn't. It was just bloody luck. But no, it was observation. They would be having these sudden little breakthroughs with clients, and they would track it back and figure out, why did that work? And they could see if they could get consistent results with that technique with other clients. And he'd share it with other chiropractors, and they would get the same results doing that technique. And so they developed a body of knowledge. So I took a page out of Dr. George Goodhart's book and went, gee, that's funny. I started using this technique and realized it was doing more. And that's when I discovered it was not working on just muscles. So that's one of the things that makes what we do a little unique. And as well, a lot of people who do our work, they'll evaluate if a muscle locks or unlocks. But just because a muscle locks doesn't mean it's actually happy. Sometimes it's in a state that we call jammed or over-facilitated or over-energized. And it is a muscle that's holding on for everything it's worth to try to do its job, but it's shaking in its boots, working so hard. And this is not being in a state of balance. And so this correction that we teach works regardless if the muscle's unlocked or jammed, stuck, literally And this is where a lot of painful conditions come from.
I had a conversation with someone yesterday who had just come out of the gym, and I was talking to her about the workout and everything. And when I asked her to turn her head to the side just to see what her range of motion was, and then we did one of the techniques, and then when she turned her head again, she had a full range of motion that came all the way from her pelvis, all the way through the system, through the neck. And it was astounding to her, especially since she had just finished her workout. She thought she was all set to go. And then she discovered, yes, but in isolation, not cohesively together. And that was a little aha for me. I say it a lot when I'm doing Tai Chi and I understand whole body movement. But when you come right out of the gym, you've trained in a certain way, and that's not necessarily how your body is going to function when you go to do your everyday activities. Nor is it great if you're going to pick up a box if all of the body parts didn't come together as a unit. So
right, yeah. So if you can bend and squat and reach, that's good. But when you go to lift and bring that box into your torso, if everything's not working cooperatively, what do you get? You get a little bit of whoopsie.
Yeah. And then that's when people say, I can't understand why I hurt my back. I can't figure that out because I didn't do anything. I just turned. And it's like, yes, but you didn't turn with everything intact. Yeah.
How many people have you heard said, I just bent over to pick up the proverbial paperclip. Never mind box.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're screaming in pain on the floor, clutching their back because their systems are not working together. And that's where bioenergetics is so brilliant, because we don't just look at one body part. We look at how is it working in collaboration with all the other parts of the body.
Mm-hmm. It's always fascinating to me. Every day is such an adventure to see what will show up. So for our listeners, they're probably wondering, okay, what does a tune-up look like? So do you want to kind of walk us through what a session with you might look like?
Well, sure. It typically a session can take 30 to 60 minutes. And what happens is we do a few activities to make sure the brain is talking to the body honestly. It's really, first of all, if it's saying, hey, I want the right finger to do this, is it the signal getting to the right finger, or is it going to the wrong finger, maybe a finger on the other side of the body? So these pre-activities set people up for success so that when you're testing something, you know you're testing that thing. And it's not accidentally because the neurological signal has gone somewhere else. It's a readout for something you have no idea what it's about. So it's really important to make sure the body is checking in, that you're getting accurate information. And then we basically will normally work with muscles from the neck down to the lower leg, and the feet is what I meant to say. Because as we were mentioning, everything's connected to something else, and everything, I can't tell you how many sore shoulders I have assisted by working on a foot muscle, a muscle that attaches on the near the top or the bottom of the foot, it comes up the side of the calf. It is incredible where people go, but you didn't work on and it just confuses them. But then they're moving their arm around going, that's really neat. And I actually had one physiotherapist say, what magic is this? Because she goes, yeah, I know about reflexes. And I'm trying to explain to you, our reflexes are different than the reflexes you've studied. There's lots of reflexes and different types of reflexes. So when you get a surprised look on somebody's face, it's brilliant. So a session is basically bringing a muscle into a specific position. So basically like a limb, if it was, let's say it was my arm, my elbow straight, my hand pointed straight forward from my shoulder. If I turn my thumb down, it contracts the pectoralis muscle. So just a little bit of geeky stuff, people, not much. And if you push in up and away, you're activating certain fibers of that pec muscle. And if you push down away, you are activating different fibers. And either the muscle, the limb will hold exactly where it was placed, or it feels mushy or literally drops away. And I cannot tell you how many bodybuilders I've worked on who go, quick, fix it, don't let anybody see. Because it's not about strength. All these guys are all massively built, but some of them I work on, and some really, high-level athletes. It's not about muscle strength at all, even though we've called it muscle testing. It's about how is the nervous system doing communicating to that muscle to stay right there. Don't move, don't wobble, don't go too high, don't go too low, just stay right there. That is really a significantly complex task. Think about it. How long can you hold a cup of coffee out front of you without moving at all, right? Eventually, your arm's going to want to drop down, and your nervous system's going, no, it's supposed to be right there, but not too high. It has to be it's really complex. So we're really doing neuromuscular testing. And that is a term, lots of people know about muscle testing, energy testing, muscle monitoring. But where muscle tuning comes in is where we identify what that muscle needs to wake it up so it works properly. So it's a lot like tuning an instrument or tuning up a car. We figure out, what does it need? Does it need a certain kind of a reflex activated or a different kind of reflex activated? Does it need a physical injury reset by stimulating the muscle in a specific way? So fascinating. And that's where muscle tuning is literally tuning up muscles, the front, the back, from the top to the bottom, right side to the left side. So everything is communicating to everybody else so you can function beautifully. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely. And you commented about the tendons and the ligaments, the fascia as well. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what happens when everything's tuned up then, and what happens to that tissue?
Sorry, the recording just glitched a bit. So do I want to talk about the tendons, muscles, fascia, and then what was the end of this question?
Just when you've got that muscle tuned up, what happens to all the other tissue? What can you comment about that?
Oh, well, man, I get a little dramatic. So I don't know if people are listening to this on a podcast and are not watching the video. Denise is making a dramatic motion. Okay. When you get a muscle working again, the other guys that were carrying the share of the load and trying to do their job and the job of the neighboring muscle or the one across from it, across the street, so to speak, they all go, ah. So it's just, let me go back to the scientific basis of some of the work that we do is we don't necessarily work on the part that's got the pain. The part that's got the pain is often where the blockage is, but the blockage is happening because somebody downstream is not carrying their share of the load. So how many times have you ever worked in a workplace where your buddies are off taking a break and they're taking their sweet time to come back to the production line? Right? You're answering phone calls, you're taking care of widgets, you're doing that, and you're doing their job for the whole 15 minutes of the break, and then they don't come back, and you start to get aggravated and you start to get cranky. And muscles are a lot like kids that way. When muscles are doing more work than they should have to, they get cranky. So when you take care of a single muscle, other muscles go, yay. And I'll give you a brilliant example of that. So just over 3 months ago, I had nearly catastrophic injury. And it was significant. It was called a polytrauma, is the big fancy word. It meant I messed up a bunch of stuff. And I had a crush injury of the left chest, which involved oh, just every bone in your left chest practically that you could do something bad to. So what ended up happening is they sent me home and said, just lean on something and dangle your arm and try and move it around a little bit and just, keep the joint from freezing. And that's all they expected me to do for a very, very long time. No, you can't do physio. It's too early for physio. Don't do anything. But the fact of the matter is I had to grasp under my wrist and move my arm around if I wanted to do anything with my arm. So indeed, I had inflammation. I had a few other things going on. But as soon as I could get my thoughts organized for a few minutes at a time, I would ask my body, what is the first most important muscle I can tune up today that will help me? And I would work on one muscle. And I can tell you, Michelle, now I know what it is for clients that come to see me. I aim for 100% improvement on every muscle I test at every session. We get close to that most of the time. But now I know when it's not 100% improved, people are still excited that they get 5% more, or like in my case, I usually get way more than 5%. But when I got my muscle to lift by itself by 5 degrees, I was excited. And the next day, 40 degrees. And the day after that, 70 degrees until I could raise it right up over my head. I mean, that was so exciting. But when I got that one muscle, I asked my body, what's the most important muscle to wake up? Guess what? Other muscles woke up too. I didn't have to fix them all individually. So that's why I get really excited about this work, is I'm finally the poster child that, all the marketing people are supposed to say, what's your origin story? And I'm like, well, I went to a chiropractor and it was amazing. I started pooping every day and feeling like $1,000,000, had a lot of energy, never had to take another pain reliever. And people kind of go, yeah, so what? It was like really big time for me. But now that I can say I had full range of motion in this joint, even though it was completely unstable, as far as the bones weren't, bones weren't joined yet, but I had full range of motion in my shoulder in 3 weeks. And It's like I've talked to therapists and they said, no way. And I'm like, it's so, I just can't imagine people going through life if they've had an injury and don't know about our work, or people who do really stressful jobs, because stress, emotional, mental stress can switch off your muscles too. Or just making one stupid move as you're vacuuming and moving a piece of furniture out of the way. Sometimes you tweak something or you bend over to pick up the proverbial paperclip and you go, ay. And you never come back to optimum. You sprain your ankle and it's never 100% okay unless you get it attended to. Now, we're not the only therapists that can work with a sprained ankle, but I know in the past, you think it's just a sprained ankle and you go through life and you compensate and it's just, you get used to the new normal, but it is not as solid and happy and flexible and strong as it was before the sprain if you don't take care of it, for example, in one of our approaches.
Exactly. So Denise, you have people that come and do private sessions with you, but you also have a training program. Do you want to talk a little bit about that program?
Sure. Well, this is really near and dear to my heart because, first of all, I was challenged to teach this kind of work online. And I went, no way. It's traditionally been taught in person. And a lot of people I've talked to said, I only learn well in person. And I'm going, yeah, I know. And then the pandemic came and people needed credits for their continuing education credit units for their associations. So some of them are going, well, okay, let me deepen what I know. I know a little bit about muscle testing. Let me take your course. So they loved it because it's online, learn at your own pace. You can do it at midnight in your pajamas. We have nice little practical assignments that are simple based on, we just taught you a concept. Now go practice it with somebody to learn it and lock it in so you know how neat it is, because every single assignment we give can give measurable results. Even within the first couple hours of the program, people are doing stuff and they're going, whoa. So the program literally only takes, for the average bear who doesn't have really any background at all, 24 hours. And let me tell you, I have spent over 2,600 hours taking classes. And no, not everybody wants to learn about neurology to the level I want to. And all these other, I went quite wide with my training. But all of those classes I took have informed this program. That's why we had this accidental discovery that clears emotions, and it works with a muscle being over or under energized, and works with tendons and ligaments and such. So I'm really, really excited about that. And we recorded my teaching it all in nice little short videos of 10, 20 minutes, so people can just learn in little short bursts. There's literally somewhere, I think, between 6 to 8 hours of video, reading the manual, going out and doing the practical stuff. And they're going, wow. I had one person who didn't even come to our in-person seminar back in the olden days when we used to get together in a room. Remember those days?
People, yeah.
We found out that people who had no experience with muscle testing, but just following the program, were tuning athletes who were going, holy cow, Batman. They were improving their race results. They were improving their recovery from training. There were all these magical things were happening. And I went, wow, maybe you don't need to do this in person. It really is true. So that is a little bit about the program. And when you're complete with the online and you feel solid and comfortable with, pretty competent with things, then you can apply to do assessments. So we do a practical assessment on Zoom. You're successful with that. We send you a link and you do an online written assessment, because that gives you the opportunity to enter into a trademark agreement with us and market yourself as a licensed muscle tuner specialist. So the world is really noisy right now, but we have people that value the way that sets them apart from other people. They're a massage therapist. Not only that, they're also a licensed muscle tuner specialist. You could go to any network event and say, I'm a muscle tuner. And like your car, I can tune you up for greater performance. I can get rid of the pain. I can help you function better. And there's a lineup of people who say, can I have your business card? I need some of that. So as much as I love many of the modalities you and I have studied, and some that you've studied that I haven't, vice versa, you could talk to an audience and say, I'm a brain integration specialist. Or you could say, back in the old days when we could say, I'm an energy kinesiologist or a specialized kinesiologist. Introducing yourself in that way, people thought you had to be messed up before they come to see you. But you see, what you want is to get people coming to see you before they get messed up, so they don't get messed up. And so this opens up a whole new potential market who feels more comfortable approaching, say, hey, I've got a few muscles that could use some tuning. Can you help me? And so this is the value of our trademark, I believe. It took a long time to push it through in Canada and the United States. And we now have customers in 4 countries who have believed in us and invested in our program. And they attend online training with me on Zoom whenever they need a little bit of extra help. And everything they need is online. So I will stop talking now, but I'm just really happy that I was able to create something in a way that made sense to me, the order to teach it, and to teach some crown jewel techniques from a beautiful system you and I know. It's called Touch for Health. To be able to teach it in a way where people can finally use those techniques. Because I taught this many times, I could see it going over people's heads. They weren't using it. I've had colleagues who are Touch for Health instructors who have taken our training and went, oh, I can finally do reactive muscles now. I'm not scared of them. And you make it, I can do like a whole like series of them in 5 or 10 minutes. It's like it used to take an hour for me to figure out who's reacting to who. And I'm going, yeah, I know. So that's part of the reason I got up every day, invested the time and money and energy in building this company so that I could teach that part the way I wanted to teach it. And I still adore Touch for Health. And what I adore about it is no matter where you are in the world, when you take level 1 in Nova Scotia and level 2 in British Columbia and level 3 in Costa Rica, you could take level 4 in Germany and not miss a beat, because there's a syllabus that says you have this foundational information that sets you up for the next level. So they've been an amazing model for me, and I thank them. And Matthew Thie, who's the trademark owner, allows me to use a lot of the methodology of Touch for Health, even though I come at it a little bit from the applied kinesiology chiropractic approach, but it walks like Touch for Health. It looks like Touch for Health. So we've got a trademark use agreement with Matthew. He's extremely generous and cheering us on to get this out to more people in the world, because you could say, hey, I'm a Touch for Health person, a facilitator, and people would go, oh, is that like therapeutic touch? I've heard of that. Or is that like, there's all this healing touch. There's all these other modalities, and no, everybody was so confused. So, yeah, I love to teach muscle tuning, because once you've got a muscle test that says there's a problem, or I should say a neuromuscular assessment, then you can ask the body, what do you want to fix it, and fix it for the longest possible duration for you.
Beautiful. So beautiful. Now, I want to just go back to one thing you said, which was about, being able to tune everything. And then the other key piece is that when you are tuning before you have the injuries, tuning before you go to the practice session or the game, you have this way of bringing balance into the body. And I think it might be nice to talk a little bit about the fact it's proactive care, where a lot of what is available to the public is reactive care, and everybody waits until they think there's a problem. And as you already said at the beginning, you didn't think you had a problem yet, because it was just normal. So you were just floating along. But if you're proactively caring for things, things disappear. So do you want to just talk a little bit about the idea of proactive care?
Well, I'd love to. So we have access to a study that was done at university that measured the torque ratio across the knee joint of the quadricep muscle and the hamstring muscle. And it was a very, very simple setup. They had a whole bunch of university students sit in this machine called the Cybex machine, and they did leg extensions, leg curls, whatever it was they did. And they found out that the quadricep muscle is consistently, on the average North American at that time, 3 times stronger than the hamstring. Now, if you go to a gym and you're working with a fitness trainer, they'll tell you one side of the body, the activity is easier to do, and the other side it's harder, and you have to do the one that's harder. And I've gone into gyms and I'll say to fitness trainers, what exercise do your clients hate to do? And one of them is the hamstring curl. They hate to do the hamstring curl. And I go, how about you? Oh, I hate to do the hamstring curl. So I'll actually assess the hamstring, switch it on and tune it up, and say, go do that activity. Like I have him do a before on the machine. I tune him up and he gets on the machine and it's bloop, 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 bloop. And it's so easy. And he's just laughing. And I go, you can put more weight on it now, right? He goes, yeah, let's add some more weight. It's still easy. So what the research study showed, that when we use these bioenergetic approaches, it reduces the strength of the quadricep muscle, which was surprising because they assumed our method at that time, they only knew about strengthening stuff. Mm-hmm. What they found out is the pull ratio of the quadricep reduced and the pull strength of the hamstring increased. And that means the torque across the knee joint where those muscles, attach by was closer to 1-to-1. So this is being proactive. Is if your muscles across your knee aren't pulling too hard in one direction, you're probably not going to develop things like arthritis. You're probably not going to tear a medial collateral ligament while you're doing sport. That's just one example.
Wow.
It's really, so traditionally in our world, Michelle, what have we called what we do? We call it giving
a balance.
We say giving a balance. We're doing a muscle balance. That study proves that is indeed what was happening.
Wow. And then you just assume that the way the quad is functioning is correct because it's a big muscle and it supports so many things, right? That's the way you would logically bring it forward in your head. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's in anatomy books. They say it's the strongest muscle in the body. So of course it's going to be extra strong, right?
Yeah.
But it should still be working in cooperation with the antagonist muscles on the other side, which are the hamstrings. And I've actually tuned up one fitness trainer. She had a piece of hamstring removed to be used in another part of her body to repair something. And there was no strength in the back of her thigh when we tested. It was the medial hamstring. There was nobody home, but we tuned it up. We got the impulses running again. And that muscle checked in as if it was functioning. So we got some kind of messaging going on in her body. So again, proactively, if her body believes that the medial hamstring is working properly again, that there's support there, as she ages, she's going to be at less risk for an injury.
Exactly. And then the recovery out of that surgery too is completely different because so many people will say, oh, I never felt the same again, or I lost that range of motion, or I'll always love, this is my bad leg and this is my good leg, right? And it's labeled as soon as it has an injury. And then it adapts to the label that's been given to it. And it doesn't really need to. Yeah.
Yeah. I do have clients, when I know they're going in for something, I say, please see if you can get in within 2 or 3 weeks after you depending on the severity of what you're seeing. You could use a tune-up when you get out. And they go, yeah, I know. And they come and they really value it. I had a woman that had, she was taking care of her aged mother at home. And you're not prepared to be a caregiver when your mother is suddenly in your living rooms, and you've now got a wheelchair and you've got to transfer them to the bed and to the toilet, things like that. And she herniated her back. And she went to see a chiropractor. And I said, please, 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 he's just up the road. Please, as you're driving past my house, let me know the days you're going to see the chiropractor. Come in. I want to see you for 10 or 15 minutes. And then you can go home. Because I want to lock in the benefits of what your chiropractor's done. Because the chiropractor's working with the bone. I'm working with the muscle. So what happens if you got a muscle on one side that's pulling too hard and the other one's kind of like loosey-goosey? That bone will continue to be pulled out of alignment. Anyways, that chiropractor said, you're the best client I've ever had for this kind of an injury. You're rehabilitating, you're healing 3 times faster than anybody I've ever seen. Because he would jam the bone back in and I would help balance the muscles so that they would behave for a while until she goes and does the next stupid thing. Anyways, she healed much faster than that because she could have been laid up for months and months, not able to take care of her mom. And that would have been dire. It would have been really, really bad. So the satisfaction I get out of doing this work is I just I can't say enough about it. And the satisfaction my students have when they apply some of our techniques, when they go, you know, that little technique I learned at your free introduction? And I'm going, yeah. They says, I finally used it. This is after they've been in our program for a month or two. I finally used that technique and it works. This guy is now hauling bricks and putting in a brick patio. And before I used to have to work on the pane. He couldn't move his shoulder. He sits at a desk and he couldn't type. And I did that one session and it fixed his shoulder. And I'm going, I know.
Oh my gosh. Now, something you said in that piece there is about the coordination. So that to be able to take a chiropractic session, and combine it with what you're capable of doing. I know that the latest conversation is around using the terms complementary and integrative health, because we all work in a synergy together. We all have our expertise in different areas. And then to be able to benefit from seeing several people and putting that whole picture together is really amazing. So I wanted to bring forward, because we mentioned at the beginning, Can Be Well, which you and I have been active members of for a very long time. And you were in the office for a long time, and now it's my turn. But Muscle Tuners International is a partner with Can Be Well, and we've got lots of collaborative things that happen. Do you just want to talk a little bit about what it's like to collaborate with other organizations and some of the work that's come out for you that way with Muscle Tuners?
Well, last year, was it last fall? Like maybe a year ago, maybe less. Time is a construct right now. It's just
right. Nobody knows.
These are my four walls that I just get up. It's like Groundhog Day every day. There was a Nolative conference that Can Be Well was also sponsoring. And there was a presenter at that conference who is going to be doing a program for Can Be Well. And just watching her demonstration and having the notes that were available in the handout of that conference, I had a friend, I said, you know, I've got this knee thing that's twinging. Can you do this technique for it? Fixed it. That was over a year ago. Knee never twinges. It's the opportunity to interact with colleagues who are doing all this other neat stuff. When you come together as organizations that have the same mission of helping people release pain and live, you know, functional lives and live with grace and like age gracefully, it's stupendous. And I know you've partnered with other organizations like Natural Bioenergetics and Therapeutic Touch. Is it the Atlantic Provinces?
Yes.
And Muscle Tuners? And I think together we're going to do, well, I don't think, I know and believe that together we can accomplish more, because we each have different networks. And did you want me to mention like the social media rally that Can Be Well sponsors?
Sure. Yeah, because this is a lovely way that you've brought in your expertise to Can Be Well and collaborated.
So I've attended these things called posting parties online, and it was like, what's this? It's supposed to help you get more visibility on the internet. And I attended one, and I had a post that went views by, I think the measurement was 839% over my typical posts from attending a posting party. But the results fell flat because the viewership were, and nothing against any demographic, they're just not healers. They were people selling products in Florida. They were salespeople in Atlanta, Georgia. You know, they were all, you know, all these different avenues of professional people who wanted to get more visibility on the web. And there were a couple of us healer types there. And I just went, wow, I see the value of doing this, but it will really punch if we do it within a network of other healers, because we all our social media are a lot of people who are into healing. And so we're same, but different. And so
Exactly.
that's why I'm really happy that Muscle Tuners we just had we did this a little while last year, and it was awkward because people had to show up live. And so this iteration is where people can just participate through a specific day where we interact on each other's links. And the feedback I've been getting from some of the participants has been wonderful. It's leading to extra sales. It has led to increased viewership. And people who are taking the coaching, for example, don't just do the one post, but now you got more views, do a post the next day, and that post gets more views too. So you get to engage people or get in front of people twice for the amount of time that you're spending, really. And that's a way of collaborating. It's just, I don't know what else you have in mind about collaboration, Michelle, but definitely organizations that use some form of bioenergy in what they do would do well to gather and get together. And I'm learning as somebody getting very big international, and they've been organizing for about a year. I'm going to let you know about them very soon, because I see Canberwell and its partner organizations getting into that, because it will be an international alliance of healer type people.
And that's what we need, so that the public can find us, and they can find us through channels that speak to them. Because, therapeutic touch is one technique. Muscle Tuners and Touch for Health has another sets of techniques. Brain Gym is different again. And to be able to have all of us speaking together and saying, how can we help each other, but how can we help the public? And how can we help get these tools into the public's hands? That's the key piece too, because like you said at the very start of this conversation, it was just, you could learn this. You didn't have to be a doctor. You could tune that muscle up and be ready to go. And, when you're dealing with kids in the living room that have been having a little bit too much rambunctious play and somebody gets hurt, it is lovely to be able to say, I know how to help you right now. And to be able to provide something other than, a hug and a kiss and, I love you, honey, until the pain is gone, but to be able to really help. And so that collaborative piece, I think, is so important to our conversation, because we're not trying to operate outside of each other. We're really trying to be together. And all of us are striving for the same goals, which is everyone to be balanced every day. So we're optimizing who we are, what we are, and our gifts that we provide to the world in the other areas. So.
Oh, well, I tell you, I have some very dear colleagues who found out I had had an injury and offered to help. And I was not in a state to access any of my training or my resources for a few weeks. And I got some energy healing from Costa Rica. And she went, wow, your nervous system is stressed. I'm like, yeah, I think so. And so she supported my nervous system. And if she says, you've got a hiatal hernia, I'm going, oh yeah, lately I'm not able to keep things down. And she's going, And I'm going, this is crazy. She's picking this up in Costa Rica. And I never had that issue before my injury. And as a result of that, I felt so much better. And I knew somebody else that's in the Brain Gym educational kinesiology vein. And I happened to be traveling to see a colleague, and I was very near this person. And I said, I need to meet with this woman who I don't know if she's currently teaching it, but she used to teach or be a really like a head facilitator, one of this many in the world. And it says, she's down the street. Can we please have her over and see if she'll give me a session? And she repatterned some dynamic and postural reflexes that allowed me to walk on the beach without feeling like I had to really pay attention to every step I took. Instantly the next day, I was My nervous system was reorganized at a really profoundly deep level. So we each have our specialties and our gifts. And I'm not one to say muscle tuning will fix it all, because, yeah, I can tune up muscles, bones, not so much. But whatever you can do to have more comfort. And so my colleagues to collaborate and assist me is just a microcosm of what you're talking about, is that together.
If you'll just say together we.
Oh, together we assist each other to be greater and achieve our potential.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's beautifully said. Denise, the hour goes so quick, right? I always, aim for 40 minutes, but I get so excited about being able to have conversations with colleagues and to really dive deep into what we do. And it's been lovely. You've brought so many facets together, and you've simplified sharing how each piece works in such a lovely way. And I hope people realize the potential of that conversation and how easy it can be, and then how profound it can be. And I think you've brought that through eloquently. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle. And really, when that one little miracle was happening, I was just a housewife. For those on the podcast, I was making air quotes. Nothing against housewives, but literally, I was nobody special. I wasn't a university medical student of any kind. And when my chiropractor showed me what he did, and I came to the Lower Mainland and found this system called Touch for Health, and that miracle happened for me. Basically, I was an administrative assistant. I have met people who run food trucks who do brain integration work, right? It's just, some of us, we don't march to the beat of the average drummer of everybody around us. So I'm out looking for those people who go, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, and that they find something in the world of bioenergetics that they love and can apply.
Beautiful. So Denise, how can people find you? Can you tell us your contact information?
Sure. My name is spelt the French way, Denise, at muscle, MUSCLE, tuners, TUNERS.fit. That is FIT, like the first three letters of fitness. And that's our website address, is muscletuners.fit. It redirects to muscletunersinternational.com.
Thank you so much. And I hope that those people hearing this podcast will also know we will be talking about your injury that you had and talking to the people that supported you. And we will have that in our next podcast. So that'll be episode 4. So we're looking forward to that conversation. And to finish off then, I always like to talk a little bit about some kind of dance or movement pattern. Is there anything that you like to do at your house that just really, gives you some joy and helps kind of bring everything into tune for you?
Oh, yeah. I've started dancing by myself actually this week again, and it makes my heart sing. And as far as movement goes, I'm sitting way more than I should. So now I'm challenging myself to, if I'm going to go to the kitchen for a cup of tea or something in the fridge, I will lunge walk. When you go to a gym and a fitness trainer at 6 o'clock is pushing the whip at you and you're holding the weights and you have to step out in a lunge and then step up, stand up and step with the other foot in the lunge and go to the other side of the room and back. I decided, why don't I just do that around the house a little bit if I'm not getting out for as many walks? I'm running up and down the stairs a little extra, just for no reason. Just, maybe I should run downstairs and check the mail, even though I know the mail's, just do something. Movement is key. And I started hanging out in your movement made easy. Is that what it's called? Movement made easy?
Yes. Yeah.
Sessions that you offer on Wednesdays. I
Yeah.
attended the first time last week and I adored it, Michelle. I hope many people find what you're doing. It's something special.
Thank you, Denise. Yeah, I really enjoy that class because I can be specialized with it, and I can be a little bit dance or a little bit Tai Chi, depending on who's there and what they're interested in. And I'm finding for myself, I'm doing more spiraling kinds of moves. So I like to turn in Tai Chi. We spiral movements, but I'm finding, you put a piece of music on to dance, your whole body's just kind of in it. And I'm noticing that seems to be what the movement wants to be more like right now. And so I enjoy that. So that is Movement Made Easy, which is on Wednesdays at 9 o'clock in the Atlantic provinces, so under Atlantic time, which is a bright and early 8 a.m. for you in the Pacific.
Wait a minute. That's 9 a.m. Mountain because
9
it's
a.m.
8 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said Atlantic. It is Mountain.
Okay. So, yeah. 12 o'clock in Atlantic. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Thank
you. Well, I could geek out all day with you, Michelle.
Oh, thank you. So let's finish here. Denise, thank you for just casting a light on the ease and the grace that bioenergetic wellness tools provide athletes, recreational explorers, hikers. And we all realize we don't need to be working so hard at what we do to be fit and strong and flexible or coordinated. And it's always a big eye opener when we find the easy way. So you've been listening to Be Well with Michelle Greenwell. We invite you to explore the ideas that Denise has shared with us today. How could you support yourself in a much better way by implementing some of the ideas that Denise has shared with us about Muscle Tuners International's program? May your body feel the ease and flow of being tuned. And if you want to see some of Denise's videos, you can go to the YouTube channel for canbewell.org, and Denise has several videos there that you could check out from there, as well as on her website, Muscle Tuners International or muscletuners.fit. Thanks so much, Denise.
Thanks, Michelle. Be great. If you can't be great, be awesome.